What's equivalency setting line position locations all levels? What did I just say? Try to understand the trying setting. What is try? Try is a location of hesitation. Doesn't recognize the pattern, doesn't recognize the voice, doesn't understand the pattern recognition, doesn't understand the face recognition. Setting calculation line interference location your avatar is understanding what this is. It's a piece of pie, guys. What's a piece of pie? Okay. I'm not talking about PIE. There's no E in anything. Pi is the perception of its intelligence. Okay. This is a program of its interface. Pi is recognition location to everything through infinity set location. Pi is calculated to modify how we use pi. Okay. In center operation. Pi's calculations of pieces of pi when it comes into geometry set location. So what the avatar is doing through pi is creating higher levels of digital frames, higher levels of body calculations, magnetics, line connections, high positions, all track location, high setting, higher level division locations when it comes into set locations. 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 dimension, 4, 5 dimension, 6 dimension, 7 dimension more. So I love that story when you come into calculations settings, right? Astoria is story, right? So I'm trying to catch on to my Espanol. Setting calculations to a story frame is recognizing communications of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Pi is connected to each line of each chakra. Each chakra has its own pi recognition of its own clocking. Each avatar is connected to its own avatar stream that's connected to a wave central setting. Pi is calculated to alpha, delta, theta, beta, and omega. Now, you have pi-centric calculation system into letters, which can be 1,000,000 letters in set locations. So you can have 1,000,000 letters and only one symbol. Or you can have 1,000,000,000 numbers and position of 2 line calculation system of shapes. It's all rectangular location high setting. It's all levels of code frequencies, code activations, code weaving. Code reading line calculation system, keyboard. So what you're doing is you're speeding up lines of diameter line switching communications, rotation surface, line connecting high setting through pi. Center calculations of 3, 6, 9. Merkaba, line calculation, tesseract, line position, line track locations. Get into your imagination. Right, 2 line signals into a 3 set location. 4 line signals into 1 position. 5 line signals into 1 position. 3 line signals into 5 position. What am I talking about? It's all calculated through pi, right? So don't you find that fascinating when you come into that calculation setting? All reference locations of pi is all calculated, modify how we see ourselves through clocking, to a 12 line setting, to a 24, to a 48, to a 72, or anything through 144. It's a geometric operation that the avatar understands through its engineer setting. It's its own engineer of construction. You become your own architect of design. So in that position locations, your avatar itself is creating its own pi of mechanisms. Higher levels of shapes, higher level of division, higher levels of clocking, higher levels of position locations, right? Through pi. Okay. So for example, when you get into pi setting, we've done that every single day in set location high system. Pi is line condition of space and time, recognition of time sequence. So when you go through that line interference, you have to really understand how to use it through calculation set lines. Okay, so this is position location. This is pi in high setting. That's pi, right? And this is pi in position locations, right? Setting calculated line interference. This is pi in set locations. Okay, this is pi in set location high setting. This is pi in high all line position locations high center interference. Everything is pi in shape because pi is not pi. Pi is everything through its own set locations. So the avatar sets line communication in position of 0. So pi here in triangulation. There's a 3 set locations into levels into interface position. All right. Pi directional line calculations into 3 set line conditions into 1 set location. 1 generation line into travel communication into triangulations of 3 set locations. Right? Double helix all through pi. Okay? So pi calculates and modify how you see pi, but all it is just a shape. It's not complicated. You try and understand what it all means, right? So in that calculation system, let's go through waving the set lines of pi. Pi equals location. This is pi. Now, in that line communication setting, you have to understand how position locations you come into Roman numbers. Comes into X line of all set locations, or you come into XX position locations, right? Or you come into this position location, so this high setting, right? Roman numbers, right? Line calculation line interference and set locations. So this is I9, set line conditions, that's 9. I to X, right? XX line communication is 10 set line conditions, right? 2 waving cycles into line conditions of 10, 210 position. All right, that's pi. So pi is all levels how you see a clock line. Let's say you center position, you open operation line settings. You guys are coming into 71 sets. That's 7 of theta, box position locations to ground lines, rotation surface to its position, all levels of flux capacitor. Direction of timeline in 3 set locations. Center line communication into a light bulb at set location, right? Channel calculation line interference, 3 line wavings and set location system. Electrical line calculation, it's in a 4-wave cycle. Same position location north, into east, into west, and south location. Center line interference in set location. Sending line communication, crossing signal. Okay, that's through a light bulb. That's through pi. Pi is just a connection to all levels of space and time, and everything that you do in between is mass of calculations to and from. How long did it take you to get from here to here? 50 minutes through pi. You travel 50 minutes to get there, right? But you're looking above from below, and you're seeing the pi of what you created through travel of 15 minutes, or 15,000 line setting, or 20 million line setting through pi. Pi is all calculated and modify how you use your space and time through maintenance, through the geometry operation of design. The connection of the vessel, okay, is the construction location to the Merkaba, tesseract, and its tetrahedron. The avatar is creating higher levels of pi through mechanisms of its own space and time, okay, through calculation, right? So anything's possible to that set locations. There's nothing mission impossible. It doesn't exist. Everything is possible through travel, through time and space and time. So in that position location, you start with 0 line, rotation surface, and set locations. Setting calculation, right? Modification line interference. So let's get the team line into 70 line in positions, equal line conditions of 1. 70 equal lines of pi, set locations into 2 line setting and rotation of 3 set location, right? So center calculations of 1, that's 71 in position of pi and 3 set locations. Setting calculation line interference into 5 set locations, because that's where you are. Heart direction line calculation setting. Heart's opening up and set locations. Heart's in the center. See it? All right, center calculation line interference. Time sequence lines pi, direction of timelines, 35 line channels. Fibonacci sequence and line communication of travel. Illuminate graph lines in 3 set locations into 2 Fibonacci swirls in a double helix line position of 2 travel position locations into line calculation. There it is. Done through equation. So you travel within line setting, all through 71 set lines and calculation of ground lines. You have a theta line interference into a light bulb and illumination of graph lines, northwest, south, and east into 71 set locations. Setting calculations into 3 into 5 in set location. Done through equation. So pi recognizes its calculations to its architect. The architect understands its design through its image. You're using modification surface. Now, modification surface line calculation setting. This allocates position location of space and time through calculation. This opens all calculation line settings to higher levels of geometric operation of design. Okay, so the team is now traveling. All right. See that light switch? Right. Recognition of time sequence. Understand line position locations when it comes to all setting. Travel line recognition. So pi has to be in grounds of 0, which is your cross. Setting calculations into 0 to 12. So each time you're centering your calculations to higher level geometric locations through pi of its own design. So if you understand water, water has a pattern of its own design, of its own geometry shape. There's electrical lights, electrical line interference, electrical line position locations, has proteins, has calculations, has cell generation line streams. It's got modification line position locations, it's got energetic patterns. It got all calculations through pi set locations, all through travel, all through water. Water speaks to you as you speak to it. Setting direct signals in set locations. Okay, all right. So that's set up. So you get 70 line signals and new ground line rotation interference. Add line interference, line position locations, copy, and line calculation system. Initiate 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Travel location. All right, setting lines is setting and line position locations on levels. Now, coming into pi, set locations, that's pi set location, right? Now, let's go through letter line interference, setting position location high system. So we got L, we got into 6, we got a 5. So I'm putting letters and numbers instead of locations. 3, 4, 6, 5, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Calculations of 3 and position locations of 8, 9, 10, and all set locations of 12. So what's missing in locations of pi? What's missing locations of pi? What's missing? Pi line center line interference, line position location is 11 set location. All right, so 11 is missing, right? So recognition line calculation system, balance, 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 off balance, which is X line connection. Because 11 is missing, right? 10 has to be sequence location of 11. If 10 is not in position of all levels of 11, it misses calculations of X line setting through pi. So you can't travel through it. So if you understand the position of direction, then you understand the operation of the grounds. Your connection is the crop circle through geometric operation. Everything that you look around is pi of geometry setting. All the avatar is doing is trying to understand it through pi, through codes. Breaking down these things in panel 1, 2, 3, 4. Breaking it down. 11 is missing. 10, it's got to be 11. It can't be 10 and 12. It's got to be 10, 11, 12. So 10, 11, and 12 in set locations. Pi recognizes its lines there, its balance, right? Bracket line calculation of 7. Always put 7 because that is your clocking line connections to your telephone number. Recognition calculation line interference is always 7-digit number. 07. My favorite number. So that is calculation line interference. And you take the 3-line communication of 4 into 6 into 5. That's 465. That's the area code in set location equal lines of 7 in set locations. Ooh-ah. Longitude and latitude through pi is understanding the calculations to its planet. Neptune. Now, Neptune calculates line interference, the pi rectangular line connection system, into 2 tracks, right? 2 tracks, 15 minutes, 60,000 lines of hours set locations into 72 computer operation settings in position locations into 144 equals track location. WLC. This is through pi, but only through 2 setting. Okay, so crop circles can mean all calculation and design, but you think this is off balance. It's not. I don't need to set up pi because it's already set. So in that set location, I know what 2 is. 2 is its line communication to all pi set line connections to its balance. Okay, 2 is the operation set locations. 2 measures, scales, balance, 15 minutes, 60,000 hours. Line calculation, high in position location to its setting. Recognizing all calculation into 144 in set locations. All through operation through pi. So I want you to understand how there's so many ways of using pi. Okay, through your mind of design, the geometric operation of design. So the avatar that's in space, okay, is changing your body of consciousness into a higher level design of pi, multi-pass. Okay, now once you understand that, then we can work up to a higher level of operation through its own structure, through its own architect, of its image. When I say something to you, you pick it up through vibration, through pi. 2 central line, 3 central line, 4 central line, 5, 6, 7, 8, doesn't matter. What matters is how you pick it up through its image. What vibration, vibratory line condition is it at? Is it an alpha, delta, theta, beta, omega of pi? Each wave has to have pi in it because it's creating higher levels of digital layer line position locations into elevation. Levitation, elevation. Aerodynamics of space in set location, high setting. Spectrum light, spectrum division location. Okay? All levels of the mind of space and travel is through pi. Okay? So that's how this is all set up. So if you get a position location of pi, line position location of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, set location of 0, 0, 0, 1, equal line conditions of box line position location and percentage location of 3 weather patterns, line communication of question mark, line calculation system into Z, line position location into F, line which is form, equal line conditions of communication, line position location, all calculations spacebar position. All this is through pi. It's how to understand how to use it, guys. Now, if you want to add the frames to pi, that's 4-line setting, right? Four zeros, right? In position 1, 2, 3, 4. See? That sets up its own pyramid set location, right? So you got a pyramid. So I'm changing the 0 lines into pi through recognition. Now I got 4-line string, setting cross lines. See? Setting direct locations. This is scan lines. See another triangle line conditions, how it comes in set locations, overlapping. So line communication, overlap, over time, over sequence, over pi. Okay, overlap. You have to put that in. So pi recognizes its setting. So you got 3-line, 0-line rotation into pi position locations, cross line conditions. There's another triangle. Setting calculations of 1 line, 1 center its line communication into its flux capacity locations of 1, equal line conditions of 3 lines of 6, and position of 7 in theta set locations. That's another pi. High calculation line interference is box location setting. Line communication is question mark in set locations. Comes into infinity 8 position, right? Question line calculation is a Z front, setting line position another Z front in set location into teleportation, circle line communication, line communication, into line calculation, into spacebar line setting, into a new Merkaba, new channel operator streamline, into a spacebar calculations to its computer adaptation surface. All done through pi, through this. Okay? So now you understand why it's so important to see pi of everything. Because everything is geometry of its own setting. The avatar is its own architect of its own design. But see, you don't want to get confused. Your body consciousness is reaction. So the avatar of the mind setting is setting you up as a set location to its operation, to the Merkaba, to the tesseract, to its shape, tetrahedron, octahedron, tetrahedron, hexagonal high setting. Anything higher in set locations. You have 7 maps of your equation. Anything above is 5. You put that together, What is lines of foundation lines of all graph line conditions of pi from 0 to 12? Your mapping system. Multi-pass. Okay? So once you understand what the avatar is, then you understand your body of consciousness is nothing but a reaction of travel. The avatar in space is creating higher levels of its architect of design. You, as the connections to your body of vibration, of consciousness, is picking up the design. It's at location. Okay? I'm trying to get you to understand how this all works through pi of space and time. Okay? That's how you're starting to recognize these things in all levels of vibration. It's very powerful when you connect to that setting. Okay? So we got a 0 line rotation, new line conditional Hall system, 3 line settings in position of square. Right? That's pi, right? So line communication, that's pi. Right? Center calculation system, that's pi. Because I changed it to pi. This is pi. It doesn't just have to be this, guys. Because I know the pi is all levels of geometry and location of travel. Okay, you can have a 3699 into a 12 into 1200 inside location. Now, the connections all levels of source, direction line calculation system. You have to go back to the space line of pi because pi is changing. Change, 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 change. All set locations of pi. Okay, so pi is all levels of God, its own geometric operation of higher levels of design. Okay, that's the connections to you inside. Okay, now once you understand how to do that, then you understand how to use pi through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Okay, so we go to level line setting, lines of locations of 2 sets. All right, so that's 3 instead of locations into line connections of 2. Right, 2 line strips, 3 lines instead of locations. 3 lines equals 2. 2 equals line position locations. So you can get positive line position locations, cross and signals, right? Cross and signal line and position locations comes into 5. So that's 3 lines of 5. Put 3 line position into 5 lines equals locations of pi. 35 equals pi, right? So I changed the shape into 35 through pi. Okay? That's where you guys are at. So you're at Fibonacci in swirl line instead locations, into calculations into heart direction and time. There's your heart set location. Right? So you get a Fibonacci in set locations into 2 atom line sequence in set locations. Calculation modify into triangulation line position equal locations is pi in set location. So what you're seeing is all levels of you. Your body is nothing but consciousness. All it is reaction. The avatar, the mind, is calculating, modifying, and it's trying to understand you through telepathy of communication of pi. Do you understand what the avatar is doing? Because it's a higher formation of you of travel. So your body of consciousness is just nothing of vibration of frequencies. And that's how you're able to morph into anything through calculation, through space and time. Okay? But it's very powerful when you go through pi, right? So I'm just showing you on so many line connections how this intersects its line setting. Pi recognized line setting. This is pi position locations. Anything is pi because it's already set. You've already traveled through location, right? Center calculations, direction of time sequence. So pi is this, it's that location. So what's pi doing? Pi equals location of God. Let's start there. Pi equals the God. Now, you can change line communication, change the D, okay, So you got D into P. All right. So this is direction of perception. The position of GOD comes into levels. You change the G into ground level. Ground level changes line calculations all through this. This is the center operation that's starting it. So remember the hamster on the wheel spinning, and then it gets off the wheel, and it looks at the wheel and takes it off, looks at it, and it rotates itself, and it starts floating, and then it starts spinning. That's it. But the geometry line communication is the calculation of its beginning through pi. Pi is this, all through travel. Okay? So line connecting is really understanding the alphabetical system. Tone line, monotone, line interference line calculation system. Understand the geometric operation of design through calculations. So ground lines in set location alpha. Set location operation line connection is all system of data. Now this gets complicated. So you have data omega, because I changed the frequency location of pi. So I'm changing geometry line connection high system. Ground levels, level line position locations into 0, 0, 0, and 3 set location setting. All through foundations of pi. Okay? It's very powerful understanding the geometry of U, right? So the only thing that changes, guys, okay, I'm going to make this very well clear. The only thing that changes is your body of vibration inside. The body, okay, doesn't move. The mind shifts. So when the mind shifts, the body follows. Okay? Setting that position through pi recognizes its rotation to its circulation. Rotation, circulation. Atom setting, Fibonacci setting, triangulation setting, 1 setting, 2 setting, right? I'm going to put my 5 high line setting. You're going to travel through each one through pi. Ready? 1 million line setting, 2 million line setting, 4 line setting, 4 billion line setting, 6 billion line interference location track line setting, all through 5. 5 direct line settings through 5 position location digital line fingers. Set location of clocking, all through code frequency line communication of lights. Travel line setting in rotation, full circle line communication, clock line setting. The faster it goes, the faster it goes, the faster it goes, the faster it goes. What happens when it's going faster, 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 faster? It's creating higher levels of frequencies of design through its own geometric operation pattern. Through frequency, rotation surface, center back calculation, center forward, center back, center forward, center back, right? Really understand how to go forward and back through frequency. Fluctuation through pi, through your voice. Harmonics. Changing monotone. Frequency. Lower frequency. Alpha, delta, theta, beta, omega. Your brain frequency pattern changes the line calculation system. So when you plug yourself in, you got alpha, delta, theta, beta, omega, all in the calculations of a race. They stay in their center calculations of a film strip line setting. Your brain waving pattern, your cerebral cortex line condition is in high setting. Okay, alpha wave, delta wave, theta wave. Recognition communication line interference, guys. Recognition all calculation interference. Omega. Everything has a voice of command. Everything has a code activation location, longitude, latitude, its own coordinates, guys. Anything through set location high system. recognizing you as a body shape of travel. Your vessel is nothing but a shape of pi. And it's getting all levels of reaction from your avatar. Okay? So understanding that position location is understanding the fluctuation. Alpha, delta, theta, omega. Okay? But omega could be because you're changing the geometric operation of pi. So even doesn't mean it's low. It's just a different design, different makeup of design, different engine of design. Okay? 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, 12. So you have to understand how this works through pi. Because you are traveling constantly on a force recognition location of its own solar engine. Okay, through its calculation setting, right? 2 panels operation. Trying to stand pi, but it can't connect. Why? Because one's off signal. Balanced communication line interference of alpha, communication of beta. Bounce together. Now you have a geometric location of pi. In 2 mechanisms, all set location line, open sequence pattern, direction of the calculation setting. Circle location, operation signal, signal position of travel. All through pi. So it's very important to understand why you have hands, why you have eyes, why you have ears, and why you have a voice of commands, all through pi. Okay? Hoo-ah. All right. Setting position line directions. Danielle, Heather, Gypsy, calculations, fantastic. Great smiles, great positions. All calculations, navigations are good. Energy's good. Line signals are good. Alpha line channels, delta, nothing's opposition locations. You're finally understanding the pi recognition time setting. Esther. All right, so let's see. We are David. Try to understand that you're all calculating to modify how you use yourself through vibration frequency lines, dislocations. Frequency is understanding how to reach a balanced setting. All right, so here you are traveling. All right, so you reach a frequency right here, but you don't know what it is. So you scan it. 3 set location, 1, 2, 3. Okay. That's 3 line connections into pause setting, right? Monotone. Understanding the waves, guys. Right? Travel is everything in Mech's locations, especially when you're interlacing, interconnecting high send location of UFO positions, right? Integrated line, and position location calculated. Set a calculation line in from modification line interference, so generation line stream is set location position. Set a calculation of balance. Right over left, left over right. All 3 informations. Right? And calculation high setting. Should have been a puppeteer. And that's all your hands are. Mech's locations. 2 different travel locations of vibration and frequencies, but balancing connection through pi. Earth, space, Earth. Right? So this is the position locations. Right over left, left over right. Right is Earth, left is space. Right is Earth, left is space. Okay? Understanding the mechanisms of pi through masculinity, femininity, to your divine. Divinity and all calculations. All righty then. So, So you understand a little bit more now how this works through pi and why it's so important to understand how to use it all through travel. So you're connecting to the nice system. You have to get in a relationship with you first. Find the partnership with you. Understand what your hands are and what they're doing through travel. See, this is off signal because it's trying to communicate with this, and this is trying to communicate with this. So they come together. Two different line communications back and balance, setting calculation line interference. Yin and yang. So it's all imagination, but the imagination is no longer its image. It's the connection line interference of phenomenal locations. So integrate line interference, 5 line triangles is at locations, right? 4 line signals into 1 thumb. Okay, 5 directional line calculations to the code frequency, code activation line positional barcode, direction of time sequence. So anything offline rotation interference, got a palm line calculations, right? Intercalculations, all set locations high system. Intelligence comes in. Signals offline communication, bring it back in channel. Comes in fixed position. Down by equation. Everything is a story frame of you trying to understand you through space and time through pi. That's all it is. Okay, I showed you line communication of 5 minutes, how to use your hands. All right, it's really fantastic when we see locations high setting. It recognizes the all communication system. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 finger line calculations, right? But there's not 5 fingers. 5 fingers, 1 thumb. Different sizes in set locations. There's a reason why these are different sizes. Now, we've been through that, right? The baby, child, teenager, adult. But the thumb is always the moon, and the pinky is always the sun. And this is all calculations in the weather patterns of travel. Mechanism of barcode records of time sequence times pi, high set line calculation stream, directional line communication interference, reckoning line communication line interference, calculation streamlines, triangulation, 3 line sets, position location of travel. Set position, close signal, all levels of operation. Travel communication. Travel line setting, out through equation. All through all levels of hand setting. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's missing? What's missing? 5 through pi. But it's still balanced. But you see it's off. 10, 9, 8. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. You explain to me how it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when you count down, you go from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. What is missing? 5 through pi. Multi-pass. In that calculation line setting, now you understand the importance why everything has to be in chronological order. If you change the position locations, you're changing the line signals to your geometry locations of travel. Okay, perfect example. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Balance through 5. But why is there not a position location? Right? You have to change the pi. And it comes to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. 6 lines of communication, negative or positive. Now it's balance through pi. See how it equalizes communication of balance, position, location, height setting? All through calculation. So it's very powerful when you understand the connection to your set lines. How to use the space is all mechanisms of you to correlation. Okay? Very powerful when you come to that calculation setting. Bazinga! See? But it's interesting locations. So if that's off signal and you know the 5 is missing, what do you have to do? What do you have to do? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. But this is balanced. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if 5 is balanced, how do I balance that? If one line center is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is balanced through pi, but this is off through signal. So how do we balance that out? Like I said, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Equal line calculations, positive or negative. 5, balance, together, travel. Multi-pass. Amazing, isn't it? Always find a way to find balance. All through numbers. See, it's all levels of vibrational setting. It's all levels of frequency. It's all levels of clocking. It's all mechanism locations, how you see yourself in set location setting. It's really understanding what you're doing if you understand the interline communication interface through pi. Okay, everyone? This is pi. This is a design from here to here. How long did it take you to walk? 2 minutes. Back, go back. Right? So from here to here is the space of time. Right? 2 minutes. Or you stand in the center. So really understand, try to understand your shoulder lines from here to here, right? Space, time, through pi. That is the complete setting through your geometry location of your own design. So that's what the avatar is doing every single time you're going through the mind of travel. It's creating higher levels of its own design. Hoo-ah. Yes, it's beautiful. So I showed you something very powerful, okay? To know exactly how to balance out this into this travel. Travel is line communication. Always finds a way to communicate, right? It's all through travel. So I think we'll stop there. There's a lot of connection line interference. Take team line, center line of pi, position location 71 line interference, located at 3 to 5 line position. Done my equation. Guys are back and set location. Powerful class, isn't it? So now you understand a little bit more what pi means. Understanding is really understanding the involvement of you to expansion, to exploration. You're just trying to explore different levels of you through design, through image. Your imagination is everything that it goes through its mind setting. Travel communication. Signal line position across the signal. Window frame calculation. Signal calculation offline setting. Finger point calculation, calculation line interference. Signal line position. Operation signal triangulation. All lines across signals. Max location honeycomb. Signal line position of patterns. Finger point locations at tooth thumb line rotation position. Ground lines rotation surface. Done my equation. Isn't that amazing how we travel all through set lines? You guys have to really understand that your connection is everything through formation of hands. Anything through set location, I say. Okay. So imagination is everything. You can go beyond what your hand is through travel, but it's about understanding how to create a story. And that's all you're doing. Because the thing is, your reality is nothing of the story. You get up in the morning, it's a story, and you have 24 hours to set up the story. Projection. Remote. Scanning. All done through equation. All right. How to set these things up is to understand you and all provision. You have to understand how to use your hand at all levels of gravity. What is gravity? What is this gravitational pull? What's the rotation spin cycle? You really have to use your voice. Really recognize communication and vibration. Anything that I touch. Anything I touch on my computer. Signal and communication on my phone. All position on my digital pad. Everything has a voice. There's a total location of signals. All right. All right. So sending questions and set lines. I'll see you guys on live. Adios.